Greetings, guitar engineers. I'm Desi Cerna, and that was the tablature to the main parts heard in the Pink Panther theme. If you ever wanted to learn those chord changes or that melody, you can back this video up and learn it. But if you want to do more than just memorize notes from tablature, I want to take a moment here to talk about the music theory, including the key and the chords and the scales that are in use. So let's dive in. Let's start with the key. This music is in the key of E minor, which means everything revolves around an E minor chord. And you can play it in different positions, it doesn't matter. I'm going to play it here to start with. And from E minor, you switch to a C dominant 7th chord like this. Or you could play it in other ways. But I'm going to use this one for now. So the chord changes are basically going back and forth between E minor and C7. All right, but to sound more like the recording, what we're going to do is just play roots and fifths. We'll start with that E, so that's just going to be E in the 5th B. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to approach it chromatically using half-step movement like this. So I'm playing frets 4, 5, 6, and 7 and landing on E. And you don't really want to try to fit those notes into a particular scale. They don't really come from a scale. This is just half-step chromatic movement that's leading you to your tonic, pitch, and chord E. And then from here, you can use half-step chromatic movement in the other direction to lead you down to the C7. And once again, I'm just going to play its root and 5th like this. So in this case, I need to start at the 6th fret and then go down to 5, 4, and then end on 3. And again, I wouldn't try to fit all those notes into a scale. They're not really coming from the scale. This is just half-step chromatic movement. So you're going back and forth between E minor, or at least an E power chord, and a C power chord using this half-step chromatic movement. And then later, you use that same type of chromatic half-step movement to play an F power chord. And the full chord here is really an F dominant 7th. I'm playing it like that. You might think of it as F7 as other fingerings. I'm going to use this one and just the root and 5th. And here I'd need to start at the 5th fret in order to land on F at the 8th fret. And so on. There's a little bit more to it, but again, you can back this video up and you can learn that rhythm guitar part. But basically, we're using the chords E minor, C, and then there's an F thrown in. This is all considered to be in the key of E minor. The key of E minor naturally has a C in it, although it doesn't have a C dominant 7th, which has a B flat in it, so that new note is introduced. But you might be wondering, well, where does the F7 come from? So let me explain this briefly. And what you want to do is think about the melody, which I'm going to teach you in a moment, but just for the sake of understanding these chord progressions, and this part of the melody here goes to a D sharp, and the first thing that I think of is, oh, well, that makes sense. That would be the 3rd out of the 5 chord B7, which is very common when you're playing an E harmonic minor. But the chord isn't a B7 at this point. It's actually an F7. Oh, well, that makes sense. That's a tritone substitution. What's a tritone substitution? It's when you take a dominant 7th chord, you play a flat 5th interval. So in this case, we're going to go from B to, that would be F. That's a flat 5th interval. Then you play a dominant 7th on that flat 5th interval. That would be F7. And look at this. It still has the D sharp in there. Now it's the flat 7 interval there. So that's how that connects to the melody, and that's how it makes sense to connect to the key. It's a tritone substitution of B7. At least that's how I'm thinking of it, and that's how I hear it. All right, well, let's talk more about the melody, and as I have it actually tabbed and as I played it earlier in the video. All right, so again, we're in the key of E minor, and you can think about playing in the E minor pentatonic scale, what's commonly known as pattern 1, beginning here at the 12th fret. Now, there's more to the melody than just the pentatonic scale, but the pentatonic is kind of like the foundation and the general tonality here of the music. So let's think about that scale. Let's think about the E minor chord that's in that scale. Or maybe you play just a portion of it like that. That would be E, G, and B. That's your root, minor, third, and fifth, because these are going to be very important notes as it relates to the melody. You'll see here in a second. So we're going to be adding some half steps to this pentatonic, and at times we're going to turn it into a full minor scale. At times we're going to turn it into the blues scale, and there's even going to be some harmonic minor. But we can kind of just generally think about the tonality of E minor, and that pentatonic is kind of our base scale pattern, so to speak. All right, so if you begin with the melody here, you just have half step movement into your tonic pitch E. You start on D sharp into E, and you could think of that as coming from like the E harmonic minor scale, or you could just think of that as being more kind of chromatic half step movement, kind of like we did down here with that rhythm guitar part. Whatever. Either way, it makes sense in my brain, and I can see why that note would be used here. If I keep going. All right, so next we have F sharp and G, and well, this would be straight out of the E minor scale if we were playing the full minor scale. 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, flat 3, or minor third. So we've got some more half step movement. In this case, it's straight out of the minor scale. If I keep going. All right, in this case, we have C to B, or if you want to think in terms of intervals, that's a flat 6 to a fifth. Again, this is straight out of what would be the complete minor scale if we added the half steps to the pentatonic. There's a flat 7 and then 1. So our melody here is like, you can think of this as major 7, 1, second, minor third, flat 6, fifth. And what I want to point out here is how this melody is very closely tied to the underlying chord E minor, and what you're essentially doing is kind of outlining that triad E, G, and B with half step movement. So there's your root E, there's the minor third G, and then here you end on the fifth B. In this case, you approach it from above, but in each little part, each little phrase here, you're just using half step movement to lead into a chord tone of E minor. In fact, the next part of the melody, you just simply play that E minor triad, and then you end on a flat fifth B flat. So more of the E minor triad there. You end on a B flat here. This is when the chord change goes to C7. You might play it like this and come up an octave, C7. And it's flat 7 is B flat right there. It's straight out of the chord. And that's where the melody goes to. And you can also think of that B flat as fitting into the E minor pentatonic blues scale. That's when you would add on a flat fifth, B flat right there. There it is again. So you could also play it back there if you'd rather play the B flat back there. But in any case, we have a B flat, and that fits into the E minor blues scale. And if I keep going, then I'm just going to resolve back to E. So after that flat fifth there, in this case B flat, this next part, straight out of the pentatonic scale there, very typical pentatonic movement where you resolve on your tonic pitch here, E. All right, I'll keep going. All right, so the melody repeated, a portion of it at least. But then, instead of playing that E minor triad, root, minor third, fifth, you actually kind of play an inversion of it. You play the minor third first, then the fifth, then the root, which would be G, B, and E. You end on D sharp, which is a major seventh. And this is when the chord goes to F7. You can play F7 like this. You can play the flat seventh with your pinky on the second string. There it is. And there's the D sharp note. Same note. So this melody note is tying right into that underlying chord at this moment. And you could think of that D sharp as coming from the E harmonic minor scale. So that's going to be the natural minor scale, but instead of a flat 7 D, you're going to play a major 7 D sharp. And if I continue with the melody, okay, nothing new there. That's like what you played at the beginning. And then finally, you finish it off like this. All right, so this is when the rhythm guitar goes and kind of cuts off that E, and then the melody goes. And in this case, you're going straight down the minor pentatonic scale. Then more of that flat fifth. In this case, you're going to pull off from the flat fifth to the fourth, or you could slide. And then from here, a little pentatonic phrase, minor third, root, flat seventh, root, where you resolve on your tonic pitch, E. You just do that a few times. Initially, that's played over E, and then second time, it goes to C. So you're resolving on E, your tonic pitch for the chord when you first play this, but then think about a C7 chord, that E becomes the third in the chord the next time, and then it comes back to E, if you're following how the melody fits with the chords. And that's really something that I wanted to kind of emphasize here, is how this melody isn't just random notes. You're not just playing up a random scale pattern. It's very closely connected to the chords, and that's why it's such a strong melody. And then, of course, it's made to sound more interesting because of some of that half-step movement too. So just to review, at the beginning, you're basically kind of spelling out an E minor triad with some half steps leading into each one of the notes in the chord. And then that's right out of the chord. That's right out of the next chord. Then bring it back and resolve it. More of that chord here. More of the E minor chord. D sharp is in the F7. So again, very strong melody note there that ties directly into that chord. And then some classic pentatonic stuff there, and then more of that flat fifth to give it kind of a bluesy flavor. And then very simple minor pentatonic. Oh, now the E is the third. So as you can see, we have a great mixture of pentatonic, the pentatonic blues scale, the full minor scale, and even the harmonic minor. And these types of scales are commonly used in all styles of popular music, especially rock and blues and all the pop music you hear on the radio. So even though this particular song by Henry Mancini kind of falls outside of the typical genres that I discuss and play here on my channel, it's still actually using elements that are very similar to even a lot of the classic rock songs that we guitar players typically listen to and play. Now, I've shown you how to play the melody up here in the 12th position, but you certainly could play it in another position or perhaps another register if you want to take it down an octave or something like that. And as you're working this out, if you find that you want to, you're more comfortable playing certain notes in a position that's different than the position I play in, or you want to use a fingering that's different than what I'm using, that's fine. What I've demonstrated here is just an example, just to give you the basic notes and melody, and then you can play it however you are most comfortable playing it. All right, well, that pretty much wraps up all I wanted to discuss and demonstrate about this song. Perhaps this lesson is just the sort of thing you need to be working on right now. Or maybe your guitar playing needs attention in other areas. If you need help determining what you should specifically be working on right now in order to fill gaps in your playing and move forward so you can reach your music goals, go to my website, guitarmusictheory.com. Answer the questions I ask you about your playing, and I'll send you free custom video instruction calibrated to your current level. Whether you're a beginner just needing to learn the basics, or you're an advanced player that wants to study music theory, or you're somewhere in between, I can put you on a plan so you can move forward and reach your music goals. Enroll in your free video course now at guitarmusictheory.com. You can click on the link in the video description. Well, thanks for watching. I'm Desi Cerna. Before you go, be sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. Click on the notification bell to receive alerts when new videos are uploaded. Then keep playing and stay tuned for more.